Hi, I'm Jennifer. I'm the guide and founder of Ordinary Nature. And if you've arrived here, you might be curious about forest bathing and looking for some free resources to experience forest bathing. In this brief video, I'm going to introduce you to forest bathing by way of experience, which I think is the best way to get a feel for what it's about, rather than overloading you with information. I offer some of that information on my website, www.ordinarynature.earth. And for now, I'm going to focus on being here with you outdoors. I'll say briefly just a little bit about my context. I am in the front yard of my house, and part of why I call my venture Ordinary Nature is I'm hoping to open up people's ideas of what it means to get outdoors. I happen to live in the eastern side of Washington State, the Pacific Northwest. And so sometimes if people aren't used to being outdoors a lot, they might think it requires a lot of things, like a lot of stamina, a lot of gear, backpacking, hiking, mountains, that kind of thing. And forest bathing is really adaptable to almost any kind of context and ability level and age. Please reach out if you have questions about that. I live in a residential neighborhood, and so I wanted to show how one thing that can be really helpful is to find a place that you can get to easily, that doesn't require a big drive, that has a real low threshold for you to be able to enjoy whenever you're needing 5 or 10 minutes of respite from your day, or for some specific event. Now, I'm very aware that I'm lucky to have a house, to have a yard I can walk into, and so I'm mindful of that and want to show what my daily place is, while also inviting people to look around your life this week and see if you can kind of find what your spot might be. Right? Maybe where you live isn't conducive to just stepping outside and having a semi-private place to enjoy this. Maybe you need to go to a local park or the playground of a school. And really, it can be smaller than you might think. It might be one tree in your neighborhood. It might be one garden that you see, that you drive by every day, that you're able to pull over and get out and stand with. So I'd encourage people to just start looking around for what your spot might be. And just to kind of bear in mind, you would want something that you feel safe in, because this is all about relaxing. So a space where you're not having to have your antenna up about needing protection. Is it a place that is public or private and you're allowed to be? It's okay if there's still public life happening around you. It's just more about, and you're the best measure of this, do you feel, okay, this is a place I can release. I can be with my body and my surroundings in a way that is safe. So let's dive in. A forest bathing walk, we call it the standard sequence. It does have a sketch or a scaffolding that's intended to help people drop into their parasympathetic nervous system rather than the sympathetic nervous system. Well, what does that mean? That means it's that sort of rest and restorative dimension of our nervous system that lets us drop from a lot of the mental activity into feeling more the whole body, feeling the ability to be at ease and not in thinking state or alert state. Now, the wonderful thing about forest bathing is there's no right or wrong. There's no judges. There's no one watching to say that you're doing it the wrong way. I just mentioned that we tried to design it to facilitate people's ability to release, to allow what's happening, whatever that happens to be, right? Allowing whatever feeling, whatever mental state you happen to be arriving within. It's all welcome. I'll do one little part that is in every forest bathing walk, and it's called the pleasures of presence. It's one of the ways that we start. And the intention here is to pause and allow ourselves to relate with our surroundings by way of the senses. Okay? And that is a technique because it does aid that movement or shift from sympathetic alertness to parasympathetic attention. So now for the video, I'm going to kind of shift my gaze, and you'll be hearing my voice, but I'll be kind of moving very gently to a few different spots. And for you, you're welcome to do what feels comfortable. It could be sitting in one spot. It could be lying down. It could be standing. It could be gently moving while I move. It's often really cool to do this pleasures of presence with eyes closed, because we live in a real visual culture in the contemporary world. So sometimes closing eyes helps us attune to other senses, right? And then you just kind of open them if you start to get dizzy, really just taking care of however you feel comfortable. Okay, so now, with that said, I'll drop us into a guided pleasures of presence mini practice. I'll offer suggestions, invitations, and you are in full control of trying whatever feels good to you and passing on whatever doesn't feel right for you. If you're able to let your eyes drop gently closed and still be in a safe surrounding while you're doing that, I welcome you to try that. And we'll start with the sensation of touch. And what are you noticing as sensations maybe on your skin? As you breathe, do you notice sensations as the air comes into your body? Maybe having one hand touch the skin on your arm, or your other hand what are you noticing? And if it's available to you, is there something in your surroundings you're able to reach out to? Okay. It could be grass, a leaf, a tree, a flower, the ground. What are you noticing? And if your eyes are closed, anytime you need to, you can gently let them open, close again. Now let's shift to our noses. Is there something in the air you're noticing where you are? And we allow ourselves to experience the smell, the scent. You're not concerned about naming it, knowing exactly what it is, just sort of noticing, And from our noses, shifting our attention to our mouths and our sensation of taste. What are you noticing in your mouth? And again, it can be anything. Like right now, I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot to brush my teeth. I smell my toast. I taste my toast. My coffee, kind of all the things in my mouth from the morning. And depending where you are, there may be something near you you could actually taste, right? And here we use common sense, right? If it's something you know, yeah, I could taste that. I'm not going to hurt myself. Right? Maybe it's a leaf, just sticking your tongue to the leaf. An herb in your garden. Your own skin. And now I'll invite us to close our eyes if they've reopened as we shift to our ears. And finding whatever position keeps you stable if your eyes are closed. And allowing your ears to notice what's around you. Do your ears notice what's in front of you? What's behind you? How is the world talking to you? What are you noticing through your ears? And now, very gently, we'll open our eyes. In your surroundings, what are you noticing with your eyes? Ooh, there's a bug. And now we enjoy a few moments of everything coming together, whatever it is. I notice lilacs through my nose, my eyes, through touch. I hear the truck on the street. I hear the birds, the breeze through the new leaves. How about you, where you are? Yeah, so that's about a 15-minute practice or exploration or elixir, whatever naming works for you. Right? We're stepping away from the world of the should and sit with what feels juicy to you. Right? Is any part of that feeling, yeah, that feels good? Right? Even if it's a minute of that in your day, right? And kind of giving permission to take that minute, right? So I always like to be transparent about context. I'm going to an Earth Day event today. I'm late getting to it. And I paused and kind of made myself just let it be okay and kind of remember that 15 minutes isn't going to make a difference. But being here, doing this does make a difference for those who are around me, for my own heart. Now I'm going to shift and talk just a touch about the bathing part of forest bathing. So if you would like to kind of turn it off, the recording, and just marinate wherever you happen to be, or move on into your day, fabulous. And just check back in with this channel or at my website for more of these free resources. So maybe you're already familiar with forest bathing. Maybe you're like, what's up with the bathing part? We're not in bathing suits, like we're not naked, all these things. Well, that phrase is a translation of a Japanese naming, Shinrin-yoku. And it was a practice developed in Japan in the 80s, and then it kind of was brought and adapted to the United States. And it refers to bathing in the compounds of what trees in the forest emit to keep themselves healthy from disease. Right? The technical term is phytoncides, and Japanese researchers in the 80s created this evidenced link between these compounds that conifers in particular emit at high volumes or high rates, and that not only do they keep the forest healthy, but the human immune system interacts with these. That is, when we're walking through a forest or a section of trees or plants, our body is bathing in these compounds that are released. Okay, so I'm going to make this analogy with pollen, but it is not pollen. But some of you who live in areas where you'll see pollen, blow off a tree, so you have some visual sense of, yes, like there's things that are being emitted by plants. So phytoncides, we can't see them because they're, too small for the human eye to see, but they can be measured with the correct scientific tools. Conifers are the highest kind of concentration of emitting phytoncides, but all trees and plants do. It's basically the tree's way of protecting itself from disease. So there's many other benefits from forest bathing in terms of health, its impact upon heart rate, blood pressure, cortisol, all of these things. There's sort of like a whole variety of effects. And the one that is specific to the scientific research around forest bathing, started by Japan in the 80s, has to do with these compounds that trees emit that our own human immune system receives and is amplified by, right? There's lots of scientific evidence for this. I'm happy to point you in that direction. If you reach out to me, you can also find it through the Google. And yes, we're careful of how we say this. It's not that if you stand under a tree, you're cured of all ills, but it is measurable that quite manageable amounts of time, some of these studies were like 20 minutes outside in a conifer forest, have an impact for a week on the human body. That the white blood cells that are specific to fighting off disease, their production is amplified and sustained at a higher rate. Okay, so it's not one of those things where you have to be like lying under the tree for a month to get the effect. It's all good, is what we like to say in the United States forest bathing community. Okay? If you do have the ability to be near a conifer, maybe at your home or a park, somewhere in your region, wonderful. Okay? And also, I live in the shrub steppe desert. It doesn't look like it because these were human planted trees, but most of what we have here is shrub steppe desert, right? And many of the rest and restore effects of a forest bathing walk in the desert also apply. Okay? Again, I just really want to stress there's no should, there's no right and wrong, there is experiencing. So welcome to Ordinary Nature, and I hope to see you again. Bye-bye.